Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host John, better known as Dale. We're on Yak Spin. We have a fantastic show for you. World Boss Rush returns, new balance patch on the way, and teaser of some GW2 merch and much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow host. He streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question, will the balance changes reinvigorate the player base? Say hello to H.
That's a hard question, man.
I'll say that's a very loaded question, which...
let's give a small answer. I will say it will pique the interest of some people, but it's not a long-term fix. I have to say fix in quotes. But yeah.
Well, we'll definitely get it all into that because that's kind of our two biggest topics combined there. But also, she writes for MMORPG.com and editor over at Virtually Interrupted, and also her own site, MMORly.com. I can't guarantee she will roar in excitement over the balance notes, but I'll put my money on the merch from Wildbangarang. Say hello to Robin.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that stuff. I love Wildbangarang.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when we put in like the link that like was like, oh, we're because it's like basically a mock up at this point, but you were like, Yee! I was like, oh,
I know, I'm like already excited because like I've loved the stuff that they've done for WoW over the years, so I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them in all their glory. But once again, we'll get to that. But first, this past week they did announce that World Boss Rush will return. In a blog post, they said from July 16th to July 23rd. Once again, fighting the world bosses around Tyria will net you some bonus boxes of goods for participating in the world boss events. You'll get more bonus boxes of goods for defeating bosses at the end of longer and tougher event chains. So do keep that in mind, I guess. I'm trying to think of some offhand, but I can't think of any. I guess probably some of the hot ones. Probably the longer / also tougher event chains that have a world boss at the end will get you.
Oh yeah,
more. Yeah. I guess Dragon's Stand would be one. They'll probably a lot of the hot ones if they're counting all that stuff. But they're once again going to have a community goal. Tier 1 will net 3 celebration boosters, 5 guild gold from kills banners, 50 Kralkatite ore. Tier 2 will be 3 celebration boosters, 5 guild gathering and swiftness banners, and 10 pack scout mapping materials, and 50 difluorite crystals. Tier 3 will get you 3 celebration boosters, 5 guild karma and experience boosters, 5 trays of omnomberry bars, and 50 lumps of mistonium. Tier 5 will get you 3 celebration boosters, 5 guild gold and magic find banners, 10 bonus boxes of goods, 50 inscribed shards, and lastly Tier 5 will get you 3 celebration boosters, 5 guild hero banners, 50 branded masses, and an endless boss chest tonic. And a partridge in a pear tree.
Yep.
But I think last time people kind of hit the max tier pretty quickly, so I don't know.
Yeah,
they didn't. I don't think they
quickly.
mentioned if they were adjusting that at all. But hopefully
I don't
it'll.
think so.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be the same, and we'll easily be able to hit it. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. They shouldn't be giving away the season formats, or I don't know why they're doing that, because it's supposed to be a general thing.
Yeah.
maybe it's to intrigue people to pick up the other, like, EOF and stuff, being like, well, it filled my guild, or not my guild bank, but my personal bank. Now I gotta, gather more. That's the only thing I can think of, but
it's kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. But it's like, it's kind of weird.
It's so weird. Age struggles with an example of how weird it is.
Oh, it's like the mount packs, right? So if you don't have, I don't even know if you can buy mount packs and you don't have POF, like that'd be kind of weird.
I think in the past people have told us that it does kind of protect the consumer from that. Like it won't put
Yeah.
those
But
visibly
you
in there.
need to have POF to have it. But like if you don't have the mount unlock and you unlock like a Griffin skin, it's like, oh well, you have to
Yeah.
actually get the Griffin to actually use the skin type
Mhm.
of deal. That's the kind of example I'm going for. So it's kind of weird. I don't know. And even if you break them down for Voltite magic, you can't use it until you have POF.
Right.
Well, it might be along the lines of, because people that have the core game could probably still buy Blackline keys. I mean, they're or chests and keys and whatnot.
So
And a
that's
lot
the
of those
trap.
ones have like gliders and stuff, so it probably unlocks it. It probably puts it in your account, but
Mhm.
you can't access it.
I
So
wonder if it does. That's a good question. I have no idea. I don't have an account that doesn't have expansion, so
I would imagine it still gives them the same loot table, but
that's
yeah, I don't
interesting.
know 100% because I'm sure there'd be then people trying to get like certain weapons or something, being like, "Oh, you
Right.
have to have a core account to farm it," and
Right.
because
Mhm.
aren't they tradable or no? I'm trying to remember. I don't think they
What?
are actually. Like
What's
if
What?
tradable?
skins, if like those unique skins that used to come out of the Black Lion chests that aren't part of sets.
Oh, I thought they
I,
were.
I'm
No,
trying
like
to.
Black Lion stuff is tradable. Everything else I think is account bound.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I thought when you got duplicates of like like I'm thinking of the what is it, the ice and fire sword thing, the
Mhm.
elemental sword, like stuff like
Yeah.
that where there was like a unique one-off skin. I
Mhm.
think
Oh,
those might be account bound because
yes.
when
Oh,
you got duplicates you would get keys instead. So then
right.
I guess there could be a unique drop, but I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, it doesn't seem like too much has changed from what looks like it. But I know
Right.
a lot of people have been criticizing and saying, "Are they already out of ideas for new
I mean,
events?"
they can't. I mean, to me, the idea clearly was to have repeating ones, and they come back every now and again and stuff. And like, I don't know. I think that there's probably a lot of ideas, but many of them are probably not really feasible or would be game breaking in some way. Like coming up with an idea that changes up gameplay and like moves people around and does things sounds easy, but like it's really easy to come up with ideas that will unbalance things. And I'm sure they're being a little bit cautious of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I know that was one big criticism. I think chat's even hitting it is like I think people were aware that it was like these were supposed to be returning, but I was gonna say it seems like every PVE event that's been like this has been a surrounding the world bosses, which might just be
Right.
the easier thing to do. But
Well,
this one that was the same name has
there
already
was the one
returned.
that was the event rush that wasn't like just bosses, that was just focus on events, and I think it was specifically the POF ones because they had just redone a lot of them.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's the problem with it is, like you said, the event ones that surrounded like mostly POF, those are kind of like the in replacement of world bosses
Oh yeah.
because they really don't have world bosses as much as
Right.
hot or the core game. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised they brought it back this quickly. I wasn't
yeah,
expecting it just yet.
I think there was a change that was supposed to be done this time around. I think it was because I remember you couldn't farm amalgamite gemstones last time, but maybe you can in this one.
well, that's a good point. Now I'm trying to remember because I thought there was some kind of issue or something where they're like we couldn't fix it for this one, but I could be
Right.
remembering from holidays as well because that is kind
Right.
of an issue where it's like they can't fix things like certain things like drop rates or something on the fly, but can carry it
Yeah.
over.
Mm-hmm.
Reward
Okay, yeah,
chest.
Chad is saying the reward chest has been updated, so
Okay, so all right. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I hope they don't keep bringing them back like constantly. Like it's good to have events, but like not I don't want them to be like, "Oh, it's this event, whatever." Like it's really if you keep doing them constantly, it's going to get to be like boring really quickly. I think
you
they
want it
need
to
to
be
have
like
a
super
break.
adventure box, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what state the um old maps that had like some of the world bosses that were part of Living Story
Mm.
I like because I think a lot of us assume that they're in the same state like Super Adventure Box was, where it was built on old. The game has evolved, but the code
Well,
is still
right.
locked away in the old code that might not work properly. I wonder if I wonder if that is actually the case, and if it is or isn't, are they working on maybe trying to maybe bring some of those back as like one like to mix in with these events, so it's not like chat saying feels like we just had this event. It's like,
Right.
and I'll kind of talk more about my thinking about that later in the topic of people kind of losing interest in
Right.
the game.
Well,
But
like on the term of the old events that were part of the living story, like Marionette and the Nightmare Tower and stuff like that. The other thing, well, I think less Nightmare Tower because I think that was instance, but definitely Marionette. Like it was balanced around like having a map full of people going to do it, and it wasn't instance, and it's hard to really bring that back without doing it instance because just having that out in the world happening doesn't make sense in this current context of the game. So like they kind of have to instance it, which would then mean they'd have to rebalance it around like certain numbers and stuff, and that's even not even considering all the updates they've done to the game since season 1 that's changed the physics of everything, that's changed how just things work in general. Those are actually pretty big changes to do.
yeah, no, I know it's definitely not it's definitely an undertaking. That's why I'm curious, and I guess my idea kind of leading into the future topic of like looking at other games where I wouldn't want them to come back constantly as like maybe
Right.
a one-off thing, so people flock to the old area, the area that's going to have the boss hopefully for that week or something. Because like you said, if they just throw it out there, first off, I know maybe that's why they kind of withheld on it, is like it might not make sense story wise. It's like, well, why is it here if we defeated it? But granted, everything's time locked. Yeah, whatever. But it is one of those things that it would slowly probably be like, oh, if you want a winning one, you have to get there during reset, like the first one after reset.
Right.
Is
Right.
how a lot of some of the world bosses functioned. They're at least the harder ones, but
They need it's like 2 events in between seasons per mode would be work. So it'd be like 2 weeks event for 2 weeks, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks event, 2 weeks off
Right.
to deal or something. But yeah,
I don't think they want to do a dungeon event because like dungeons are kind of, you sit over there.
we don't talk about dungeons.
Yeah, you sit in the
But-
corner and be quiet.
but I mean, is that just are we WoW now where we just like we don't talk about the old content? Like
I mean, it's been like that for a
'Cause
while.
it has been. It's just
I mean, if you're not making like Gen 1 legendaries or the armor sets there or doing dungeon completion, there's really point in talking about dungeons.
Yeah, I mean they're not going to do anything with them. They're not updating them. They're not making new dungeons. It's like this is a piece of content that's there. You
It's a piece of
do
history.
it if you want it. Meh.
every path is the priority path because it's all history.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad because I love a lot of those other dungeon things. I'm not saying I wouldn't love a dungeon event. That would be great. I'm just saying I don't think it's likely they would do it because I don't think they want to pull attention towards dungeons and having like more people going into it and then being like, oh, what about these?
What about these things that we want you to make that you've made in the past? What?
Yeah.
So we're just gonna start making random stuff that possibly no one wants, but
Well, because their focus is on like raids and fractals and stuff. Because they said in general, from what they
we can
saw,
talk about that.
yeah. But I
Yeah,
mean,
I
like
was-
for fractals instead of dungeons, because fractals can be a small piece of content people could hop in and do real quick, or they can do it for longer periods of time. Whereas the dungeons, all of them took a certain set amount of time, unless you were like speed running them. But even if you were speed running, it was still like a certain period of time that not everybody could do it. And that was one of the reasons they gave that they switched to the fractal, because it was more there were more it was easier
yeah,
for more
it was kind
people
of
to
like
do those.
popcorn. Like you go and like take a couple
Right.
quick turns.
You could do,
and-
if you had a little bit of time to play, you could do a little bit, or you could do a lot. You know,
especially like with their first iteration, they kind of went against that, but then they went back and did it because remember the first iteration was like you had to do 3 fractals and then a boss
Right.
fractal, and then they kind of went back on that. It was
well,
also
and I think that's
quick
when
and easy.
they broke it apart. I think that if I'm remembering correctly, that's the time where they said that they're moving focus from doing dungeons and updating dungeons to just doing fractals, because they were like, these can fill that niche for people. Because I think part of it, especially some of the longer paths in the dungeons, they were just seeing people were never doing them because it just took too long, you know?
Well, I mean, we'll definitely get into all that because I feel like it's just naturally gonna go into that. But will the world boss rush returning get you back into world bosses, especially with like chat saying the updated reward chest? I mean,
If I could farm amalgamated gemstones, then yes.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I, was gonna say, I haven't
was
heard anything either way, but I wish that would be a case. 'Cause
Reddit will find out for me.
Yeah.
And
Reddit
I was gonna say I'll hop in some and check it out because it's fun when other people are doing them, but I don't do world bosses that much because I know people do them, but I feel like nobody does them. You know, that makes sense. Like, I don't know.
Well, we do definitely have a theme of this one because I kind of wanted to be like, you're telling me group content's fun in an MMO. What a novel concept.
Yeah.
But well, I mean, any other thoughts on the world boss rush? Because like we said, there wasn't much of a shift between that, apart from, like I said, all the other underlying issues that people are bringing up that, you know, we'll definitely talk about at the end here. We have it marked off, but
yeah, I don't think you should give T4 Mets when anyone could do this type of deal, whether you have expansion or not. Otherwise, yeah, it seems okay.
oh, chat's breaking my heart. At least we get some kind of content. Yeah, it's hard to kind of defend it because I mean we're getting festival content, but hey,
I kind of feel bad that like there's no like something for the challenging stuff like fractals or raids, because like you just know people are going to complain about that,
Right.
But yeah,
I mean, should we bump up that topic because it does flow nicely into all this?
Sure.
I mean,
yeah,
we're going to talk about it eventually. It's just
Yeah, might as well.
everybody's here already for it. Which the other topic was, of course, on Reddit this past week, and I've seen it cycle around a lot. Was basically a person on Reddit by the name of Casual Ra RA 1986, or I think that's a 6, or is that a 5?
Yeah.
85. My apologies. I was jipping you a year. They were talking about they watched Tea Time. I mean, maybe they should watch some other podcasts, maybe get a well-rounded knowledge. I'm just saying, throwing it out there. But shameless plug. But they were talking about
not much. So.
What's that?
Host of Axelon doesn't come on a lot, as far as I remember.
And
Or
also Tyrion now. So yeah, there's multiple ones. And also Relics of War. There's loads.
You didn't even remember us, Age, the thing we are currently doing.
No,
Try.
He's still hyped over the Warframe announcements, which you can watch. No, I'm not going to do that here. I'll say that for the end.
I'll do it. You
definitely...
can watch over at maadrooms.com.
Yeah. But anyway, wow. now that we've done our random ad for us and every other Guild Wars 2 podcast. But no, they were talking about Guild Wars 2 is kind of lacking in they say in enough variation, difficulties, socialization, identity, and direction. And I think we've talked about it a little bit last week here and there, but yeah, this kind of encompasses a lot of it. And luckily they kind of break it up, and I guess we'll go bit by bit of their idea of variation. So specializations are not something that they're willing to wait another 2 years for. They were okay with waiting 2 years between Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire, waiting 3.5 years between Path of Fire, Living Story Season 4, and Living Story Season 5 is too much, since we do know that we're not, as far as we know, unless something changed and they're just not talking about it, it's Living Story Season 4 is going right into Season 5, and possibly expansion. We have no idea, but
one of the reasons, like, this is in the context of elite specializations that he's talking about this, that he wants more, and that's why he doesn't want to wait the length between the expansions, which I've heard that from a lot of people, and I've talked to a lot of people about it because I've tried to understand it. I don't understand people's fascination with wanting like new elite specs like every year, every 2 years, whatever. Like, I get that, huh?
They want a fresh combat experience.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. Like, I get wanting something new. I understand that. But like, for a long time with this, especially after Path of Fire, they've had a lot of issues with balancing the elite specs we already have and like getting those to a good place. And especially when you were talking about in the PvP realm of things, like getting it into a good place where it's all working well. It's been really difficult for them this time around. So I've been saying we don't want another one or another round yet, because it's just going to throw a bigger monkey wrench into something that's already not working that well to begin with.
Well, maybe
so,
you
like,
break it so much it then somehow
and then
magically
fixes?
aligns. Yeah, like when you're like printer something doesn't work, you smack in the side. It didn't do
if you
anything.
smash it enough into enough pieces, it'll all fit together.
Yeah, exactly, right? That's it could work that way, or just totally break everything.
Right?
But are we willing to take that chance?
I'm wondering if they should just introduce a new profession rather instead of a new elite specs, and I wonder if that would work.
Right. Like that could be interesting. I don't know what would make sense for a new profession though. That's the next question.
And they're very happy with the whole 3, 3, and 3. Like,
right. Yeah. Which apparently was their plan from the beginning. It just, Revenant wasn't, ready at the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get the wanting something new. It's just, I don't understanding the wanting something new at the possible detriment of everything else. And I guess if you're mostly just a PvE player, then that argument about things being unbalanced probably doesn't matter to you as much, because if you're just playing out in the world in general, balance isn't important. So,
and I would still argue, because people are saying they have to wait, but they even said in the past, like, oh, what if we could deliver expansion like features during Living Story stuff, which people still don't realize that could mean elite specializations. Whether, I have no clue either here or there if that could be the case. It could just be other masteries, or a new set of masteries like they've done in the past with expansions or whatnot. But it's that could be one of the easier things to achieve. Granted, I still do sit on the side of it. It would, I feel like at this point they don't have a handle on the ones that they have currently to throw more in. But if they would go that route, they see fit, I don't see why they couldn't release it during a Living Story Season 5 or 6 or whatever. But yeah, it's just weird that people are still stuck on that. It can only be in an expansion, like a Heart of Thorns or Path of Fire, not anything else.
Although,
that's what they're used to, right?
I mean, that's
how it's always been in other games, and so far in this one. But they're willing to look into it.
It's just that people don't have that notion of oh, okay, maybe they'll do that.
Right.
It's not
Well,
really in your head.
Well, the other thing is right now, like expansions have their selling points are the new chunk of story all at once, the new elite specs, and the new set of zones all at once. And new masteries. Those are kind of the core things of what the last two expansions have been together, taking them together. So if they start right now, we already get new zones for every chapter of living story. If we get like elite specs and new masteries with every, like, not every, but with living story, sometimes maybe like every new season we get a new elite spec or something, what would be left for expansions? Like, at that point, would they not be doing expansions anymore? Because like you'd have to ask what would make an expansion worth buying, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah, to me, at a certain point, we're starting to hit like expansion would just be a feature pack, which it's like, at what point is it like? And I mean, I know some people have thrown out the idea of living story stuff. It's like, if they would go this route of putting expansion like features in living story, would you be willing to pay for them, even though
Right.
we haven't in the past?
Like, would you be fine with paying for
Oh,
every season
you
as a
can't.
chunk?
Well, like everyone has to in order to like play the season, or just
Right. Like,
Or
you get it for free for logging in the way it is right now with the
oh,
seasons. Like, you just buy the season as a chunk, as just if you want this story, these stories that we're telling in this season and these elite specs, buy it as opposed to giant
oh,
expansion.
or if they went the middle ground, because I,
can't
I
do that.
think what you're hinting at is the backlash of, because we've had previous living stories where they didn't do that,
Right.
the community would never accept that. Which, what if they
They
go the
don't
route
like
of,
change much.
You can't do that with elite specs. That's selling power in the game.
Well, and that's what I was saying,
well, then
like,
what's the difference with an expansion?
No, you can't. You can't sell power in the game. It comes pay to win at that point. Because
Well, then
if
what's
an
the difference
elite
between
spec
an expansion?
an expansion is that
Is
everyone,
selling power in the game.
yes,
yeah.
but not like it. Definitely, becomes more of a problem in the gem store, because if you sell that one specific thing,
Well,
then the
then they
gem
don't
store
sell in the
has
gem
to.
store
Oh, that's true.
like the expansions.
Yeah.
Be like these
Like,
feature packs, which, if you want the expansion like features that we're gonna provide, they are a feature pack that you buy separately through the shop that's cash only, or
but you
you
shouldn't.
can use your card or whatever, but you can't use gems to conversion.
I don't know. It becomes more of a. It becomes more visible that you're selling power in the game rather than through an expansion.
Through the
Right.
arbitrary expansions.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
I
But
mean, I mean, keeping it out of the gem store kind of saves them on that. That makes, for some reason, there's a difference in player mentality of something being sold in game through gem stores as opposed to.
which is funny, because then it does destroy the idea of being able to buy it through the game means itself, which would
Right.
make it more buying power. But yeah, that would create it more like the expansion idea, which people are magically fine with, which
Right.
is definitively buying power.
it's not supposed to be, right? It's not
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Well, yeah, elite specs aren't supposed to be just outright more powerful than the core specs or the other elite specs. It's
And to be fair,
supposed to
sometimes
be.
they aren't. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends. But
Daredevil when Hot came out was not so great, but it got
yeah, a
better.
lot of them
Right.
were.
I mean, though, I think they did a better job the first time around with elite specs in general and getting them up to speed and more or less equal than others. But at the same time, when Hot came out, all the elite specs for most professions, if the elite spec was stronger than the base profession, like,
Well, in chat, that's why I was gonna say, because people would have such a backlash at saying, Living Story Season 5 you'd have to pay for because we haven't had to do that in the past. What if they say, okay, we're keeping Living Story Season 5, like if you log in during those times, you get it for free, whatnot. If you miss it, like you guys are saying, you have to pay, you miss the window, you have to pay for it. But throughout the expansion, throughout the Living Story Season 5, we're going to release the elite specs and stuff like that through the means of the story or however they want to do it. But if you want to get that, you have to buy the feature pack because it's not an expansion pack or whatever terminology they want to use. It's a feature pack outside the gem store that you pay 10, 20, whatever. Heck, maybe a la carte, but as of the past, that's probably unlikely. And it will unlock as that stuff progresses. But if you do not do it, you just don't have access to the elite specs and whatever the mastery is. Or if they do masteries, who knows? Right. But you still have the story there. So it kind of does both things.
Trying to think about it.
And like Chad said, yeah, there's people with POF and HOT out there still. I mean,
yeah, who don't have POF and HOT.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've gone far afield from the Reddit post, though.
Yeah. But
yeah, that's what I was just originally saying. Like, I have a hard time with people's fixation on elite specs because I feel like best case, those are just like a band-aid on whatever the deeper problem is. But
yeah, like chat's saying, every 2 episodes or whatever, starting with the first. And granted, yeah, you'll have the people going, well, why wasn't my one the first or something like that.
Yeah.
He also mentioned like new rune sets and new traits, not having those.
I would like to see things like that, but that is one of those hard things of coming up with different ones that aren't just the same.
Right.
I have to think about, I have to think about this one in terms of, because you're thinking about it in a PvE perspective at this point, right? But most expansions are like PvE centric. Well, at least POF was. I'm thinking about it in terms of War Wars World and PvP, because like if you don't really care about living story, you're not going to be really thinking about this type of structure for yourself. You need to deliver that content in a way that just everyone has access to it, and it's not like a headache.
I think we've always jokingly kind of said it, but geez, it's tough being a dev, huh? Yeah. And then actually implementing this stuff in reality.
Yeah. But it's also like a business practice as well that has to fall into like how much is too much type of deal.
Right.
And frequent balance patches would be nice, but in MMOs that's extremely difficult rather than.
And I was actually gonna say, and that's not marketable to them. So the business side would be like, the business side would probably go, we don't care about balance, because in reality they're trying to get the most money. Not saying the whole company's that way.
It's probably like, let's do an expansion every year,
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's the whole company's mentality, but that's probably the business side trying to get the most money because that's how a business works.
Honestly, if it was a PvP game, that like balance would be 50% of what you'd be focusing on. Because that's important to keep your player base.
Yeah. But it's not.
So,
yeah, I was gonna say that was gonna be my question.
Yeah,
it's definitely indirect company.
Yeah, but the problem is like it's hard to quantify that. Like that was one of the issues with one of the things that go back to is 2015 when they were doing the tournaments and the SL and all of that. It was really great for getting hype and getting people interested into the game. But it's hard to quantify that money. And when you're spending money on those kinds of things and it's a big expense and you can't really quantify what that's bringing in, it's a hard argument to make. And I think I'm just guessing, but I think that's probably one factor in why that stuff went away. As awesome as it was for the community in general, and was great, even not as a PvPer at that point, I enjoyed it. I think it was probably like, it was difficult for them to make the argument of what that was bringing in.
Yeah, I think it was better if it was just like ESL just did the Guild Wars 2 thing, and like in retrospect of everything, it seems like that was the best option, and not for Arena to get fully invested in it.
Right.
And also a lot of times in business, like the business side only hears like the very boiled down response of people, because they probably heard back from there, because they, you know, they were like, well, let's dump in this money, that like they kind of, it seemed like they dumped in their ad, you know, marketing money, and this was going to be it. And what they heard back was a lot of stuff of, well, Guild Wars 2 is more fun to play than watch, and a lot of times we're kind of focused on PvE, but how much you want to bet they probably didn't hear that.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
but a lot of times the people were like, I remember hearing people say sometimes it was hard to follow.
Yeah, it's hard to follow just because if you don't know the skills, you don't know what professions are doing what, it's hard to follow. You can say that for a lot of games, but for Guild Wars 2, since it's a lot more fast paced and there's a lot of particles going around,
which this was meant to be kind of their replacement for or marketing, which if you're a new person going, I have no idea what's going on, there's just a lot of flashy lights,
right,
if it's hard from the follow, then yeah, it's not gonna.
Which is why they reduce particles. Like if I can look at a game and it's like, oh, this Revenant made an awesome play with like Malix, and then swapping your Shiro to dive the backline healer like Tempest and like try to zero him out along with like another person, but like it's hard to follow that if you don't know.
And yeah, ultimately I think we all agree balance is very important for, like, and you're saying War of the World and PvP. It's just they're also business, like the business side's probably chirping and going, and how much money is that making us? Like,
right.
Which, you know, I don't know how much the devs could even say back of like saying like, well, if these people aren't happy, it kind of bleeds into these people, and like kind of like what we're having now is just people are just sad all around.
If it's rough because it feels like kind of what the game industry has turned into, honestly.
Yeah.
But we can talk about after show. That's
and yeah, they kind of go on about masteries and what masteries are good, as it just provides an illusion of choice. And that was always my wondering of like, it always just felt like raising a level cap without raising a level cap.
Yeah.
And like I get that he wants there to be choice, but the thing is when you have choice, there will always be the thing, like we see it with specs right now with the meta community and stuff. There will always be certain choices that are seen as the best, and everybody who makes those choices will be like, all right, you're good. People who don't make those choices are going to be kind of left out in the cold. And if you don't do any difficult or challenging group thing, then fine, you can make whatever choices you are, but your choices aren't really your choices when you're doing challenging things with other people. Like, it's a collaborative thing. So
and
like
also, oh, go ahead, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, at the end of the day, like even when WoW had their complicated talent trees and stuff, 99% of the raiders all picked the same talents because most of the time those talents were the best. That's just the way it works out. Like when you have choices between A and B, there will always be certain choices that majority of the time work out better, and that's what everybody will go to. So like I get what he's saying, and it would be cool to have choices that mattered with your mastery, but
and my question was masteries ever marketed as a choice of things? It was just alternate progression.
Yeah, I don't remember. Like the choice is what order you get things, basically.
Yeah, which doesn't, in the long run doesn't. Because my worry is when you start talking about it, like multiple choices on top of each other, I start thinking of, okay, here's your class build, now here's your weapon build, now here's your this bit, like, because I'm starting to think of, didn't WoW try to do that with their artifact weapons, where it was like a lot less slimmed down, where it was like you go this route to make it look like this, and then this route to do this, and so you
Well,
had
that ended up being the same thing too. Like it was basically a choice of what order you got. But again, it wasn't really a choice, because if you're raiding, you needed certain things in certain order so that you would be useful, and then everything else. But eventually everybody got all the things anyways. So
okay, so eventually you had enough points to get them all. I didn't know if it was just like kind of like
that ended up
build.
being essentially the same thing. In the beginning, you made actual choices, but eventually everybody had everything anyways. So
yeah,
well, I know for a fact. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, it was kind of the same here, except like you don't. The only thing you need for raid was like jackal.
You cut out for me.
Uh,
The only thing, you're back. It just was for a second.
Sorry. The only thing that you needed for raid was, I think, the jackal one. I don't think anything else you needed. Maybe gliding. Oh, gliding. Sorry, gliding and gliding, ley line, and jackal.
Right.
You needed those at some point. But now it's like it doesn't feel like, outside of raid, like for PvE, it doesn't feel like it. To me, it doesn't feel like progression. It feels like more just ticking the checkbox.
Yeah. Which, like, it matters, like, in terms of your play, masteries don't matter that much. Like, they affect like how you get around, how well you get around, how effective your mounts are, things like that. But like, they don't really affect how effective you are, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes them technically not horizontal progression, because they're not making your character stronger exactly. It's just you can do different things or get to different places.
Kind of like what chat's talking about with the content. It kind of leads into like the difficulty and stuff like that. But we talked about it previous weeks, how QED's bringing up about Dragon Bash, where it kind of limits you in the festival itself on getting the reward boxes, and it's basically making you stop playing. It's like
yeah, it's enticing you to not stop playing. You don't necessarily have to stop playing, but
but in the end,
you lose the enticement to keep going.
The enticement of like being good is not rewarding.
Yeah, I think unfortunately a lot of that is they feel the pull between the casual and the hardcore communities, like the different groups, like people who want things to be really difficult and people who just want to go in and play however they want and get rewards. And like balancing those two is always difficult.
I feel like with Dragon Bash they could have done that.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Dragon Bash I felt like they achieved that, except that they didn't really help the hardcore people, like QED was saying. After a certain point with like the more constructed group thing, you're just not getting chests anymore. But they do have that game mode where you can just drop in literally bashing a big group of people, and it's not like a finite number. It was just like bashing on dragon stuff. Like
I feel like the problem comes in that like making rewards worth doing for the difficulty and stuff is good, and you need to have a reason to do the hard stuff, because most people aren't going to do hard things just because they want to do hard things. Like there are some people who will do that just because they want to challenge themselves, but most people need the carrot at the end of the stick. They need something to go after. But at the same time, if you offer unique things or better things or just even more things of enough to the really difficult things, you're going to get yelling from the people who can't do those things, who are upset about that. And like, you have to make a choice, whether you're going to cater to the casual people or be like, look, we're helping you guys. You can get there. It'll just take you longer, basically. But this is for the people who can do it, to have something to go after. It's kind of like when they came out with the whole, the tiers for PvP, the rankings and all that. Like, they had a moment there to really do the same thing with like the backpack. If they had kept it to this being the season, that it would take you just that time to get it, and then they offered something new and kept that going, they could have worked it out between both groups. But they decided to. I feel like they go towards the casual people and keeping the casual people happy more than anything.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Which, like you're saying, like they stated in there, the vast majority of PvE content feels like free participation rewards, as they said.
Right.
I have a lot. Yeah, I have a lot of statements about that backpack. But anyway, I think what they could have done is at the very least, like every, I don't know, 10 levels, give them a box that gives them something, like maybe a box with a little extra or an exclusive skin or something like that. And then, and make it account bound so that they can't sell it. That's that type of deal. Because I understand giving like casual players something, like giving them incentive and not dissuading them from like the actual challenge, but also dissuading people who can actually do it and want to do it. It's also a problem in my opinion. So like I feel like they didn't strike a good balance there. I feel like they could have done just a little bit more.
Like unique skins would have been amazing for doing that stuff, because that's something you can show, be like, hey, look, I did this really hard thing.
Yeah, and if it comes back every now and then, people have the chance to do it. It's like Super Adventure Box. Like if you complete hard mode and you complete a world, you get like this cool metal boom box, and like and that's something. I still don't have my second one yet. I got my first one this year, and it took me like 4 years to do that. So, and it was totally worth it.
And I think if they, because you say with at least Dragon Bash, I'm not saying like move like the helmet skins and stuff back further, but we have like the holographic projector decoration thing that at the time was like would cost 3,000 gold if you would have bought all the materials and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Why not uncap that, like the chest rewards, and people could have sold the chests to the players that weren't able to play enough that they could, granted, I would have loved to have, instead of just trading gold for it, but it's like they could have had that in the Dragon Bash itself, of those like longer outward things, of at least in the form of guild decorations, which I know that's not for everybody, but at least that's an achievable thing down the road that's harder to obtain, that would be a lot of effort, that someone like in chat like QED could have just kept running the for the chest rewards. And
I feel like the first time you could give away, like if you reach 999 and beat it, you can get that holographic decoration, but like not multiple times in my opinion.
Oh no, I don't mean put that at the end, but like they could have just kept getting the chest to like sell off or something, or get the materials or something, so they could work towards that bigger goal of the decoration.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, don't make it the 99, because then you run in the issue of after reaching 99, then you're
Yeah.
Okay.
But for some reason, it's just weird that they had to cap people at that chest amount.
Right.
I don't understand that cap.
Like, yeah, I don't understand capping it there and then offering it up higher levels. So like literally you're doing the higher levels just for whatever reason, like just because you can, but it doesn't matter because you did it. But like,
or at least like a leaderboard or something. And
like there's no way in game to quantify that you did this hard thing. That's what I'm saying. That's usually what it takes to get people to care about doing that stuff.
What about a title?
No.
Titles.
Everything we mentioned, and a title too.
Like, there you go. Yeah. It can't just
titles
be
aren't good enough?
No.
But we like titles, right?
No. I forget what I forgot what title I have in my character. It's a good one, but I do not focus on people's titles. I really don't.
I
It's
don't
just, it
even
seems
ever
like that's
remember
always like
what
the
title
PvP
I
one.
have. Like, I have to
It just
look.
always seems like that's the PvP go-to. It's like, we'll give them titles. It's like, who uses their titles? Like,
Right.
but yeah, it's but also they kind of go on about socialization, which I think we've talked about in the past, where especially with living story stuff, it's you're it feels more and more like you're playing a single player game in a massive multiplayer online game.
Guild
It's weird.
missions. Just make
Yeah.
guild missions, damn it. Like seriously, I've done guild missions where I've played with my guild and other guilds who are doing the same thing. It's I don't understand that. Yeah, I don't understand. Just put
Yeah.
guild missions in the core game, just add more, and that's it. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be expansion at this point. You could just like add them every now and then. That's it.
Right. Just be like, here, guild missions, have fun. Like, I don't, yeah. That's one of the things that I don't understand why they just kind of abandoned them. Like, they were so much fun. They're like literally the only reason that they're not fun at this point is everybody has done them a billion times. And like those little things that you get, I have no reason to use them on anything. So, like, I
Yeah.
just want to do guild missions again.
Or you just have so many, you're like, I don't need any more. It's like,
Yeah, some guild like new guild things to spend the commendations on would be nice too. Because I have so many.
or it's just like, I just don't understand the direction that they went with like the living stories, where like we talked about in the past when, because a lot of times Jim would run with his wife, and I still remember the Shining Blade one. They were talking about like how, because he usually lets his wife, start the mission. She's doing everything down below, and he was able to throw bombs, which technically didn't work. Like they would hit the railing that he was in front of. So in all, he was throwing bombs at himself while someone like, it's like the person already is. I understand the whole like art of like you're trying to tell the story thing, but if they're already electing themselves to be like, I want to run with a friend or multiple friends, shouldn't like maybe put up a warning like you're not experiencing the story in its pure form, something or other? Are you fine with this or something? Like if they want to try to preserve that idea behind it, but it's just that weird thing of you can't play with your friend through the story. Really, like you can watch your friend play it. It's like,
Yeah, the
it's like
direction
Twitch
of that,
training wheels.
direction of that is more of I think they wanted to, in order to tell better. Don't take this as like a guaranteed thing, but it's like I think in order to tell a better story, it was just better to focus on a single person rather than organizing the structure of the instances across 5 people, but rather on one person.
Right. Well, also there was some push for like having the choices you make during the story, like when you get choices every now and again, of wanting them down the line being recognized in the story. So that's why they went with the whoever owns the instance makes the choices and all of that. But I feel like some of that has fallen by the wayside a bit. Like we haven't seen it make a difference really. Like originally, whether you choose Zoja or Logan was supposed to like have some effect on things, but that hasn't really played out, you know?
Yeah. Bounties should have been guild missions, and what they should have done with guild missions is make it okay, you can only do 3 sets of guild missions, like per person, right?
Or like
So
make
like,
it so it's like maybe if a guild goes there, it soups up that bounty fight. Like so maybe there's maybe slightly better rewards or increases the drop chances for things that drop from them. So you could, because I think their mentality was once again making it so it's like you don't have to worry about seeing another player mentality type thing. Like you don't have to fear the other player, which I think they're just taking that really far. Where it, like we said, it feels like a single player game where you're just running next to people. Like
if you want that content to not be stale, like guild missions are a great way to make that type of content not stale.
It would help people going back and doing old collections where they need to do a bounty too. If it was tied with guilds and the guild mission system, people would be doing that shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know at this point. It's like if they implement it now, I don't know if it's like kind of too late type of deal.
Right.
Like I don't know, with guild missions, like you'd have to go and it's like, hey guys, they had a new guild missions. You want to do them? And it's like,
Well, like I almost feel like that whoever like set up the guild mission systems and knew how to add things to it must have like left at some point, and now nobody's like, I don't know. Like I'm sure that's not the case, but it kind of feels like that.
Why is it in my
That's the case,
mind?
that's the problem.
I was like, why is it in my mind? I feel like it's calling, and they're like, Colin, answer your phone. Answer your phone, Colin. Colin. Come on.
Aw.
Like,
But-
well, if that's the case, that's a problem with programming
Right.
itself. So that's yeah. I don't know. It's what other social aspects can they work on that?
I mean, make guild halls matter. Like those were such a potential like thing that could have been awesome, but it just isn't.
It's I feel like if they didn't tie scribing to guilds,
Yeah, I think
That would
that was a
help.
bad choice. Like I
That would
get
help.
why they did it and why they thought it was a good choice, but it was a bad choice.
I think that was the main thing. Because if I still haven't leveled scribing, and I feel like if I did, I would like carve out my own little spot in the guild, and it's like,
Mhm.
that type
Yeah.
of deal. I don't know. And there was the guild arena, which a lot of people were like excited for in terms
Yeah.
of hosting, like, guild.
Yeah, doing guild versus guild in there and stuff. Yeah.
But it's just not feasible. It's and there's a whole bunch of cool different things you could put in there to make the fights more interesting too. But
Mm-hmm.
no,
But like with the instancing of the guild hall, it just makes getting a lot of people in there frustrating.
yeah, I don't understand. There should have been a way to like. And back in Guild Wars 1, it was way easier to like get people into like another guild hall. I don't know, or like an instance of it.
And I would have also liked to have seen like I think when we originally were talking about guild halls, when they were first talking about the idea, was like I would have liked them to have been like, since we're now exploring the the mists more, the fractal, the mist, that was kind of the storyline, like, oh, we discovered the Abaddon one, or the Abaddon one, or this one, and apparently we can only go to one. But
Right.
it was like we were exploring the mist more. Maybe that's where the guild halls were going to be, because I think that would have added more, so that they could have done different flavors, like, oh, here's like an all skull fortress thing if your guild is that type of wants that type of theme.
Yeah.
Or kind of like what Guild Wars 1 had, where you went to a guy and was like, oh yeah, I can sail you all across like different spots of Tyria, like the planet, the whole planet, and you could easily get the different themes. That was a little bit harder with like, oh, there's dragons in the water, there's this in the air, there's this, we can't really traverse all these places. But the mist, be like, here's one from a different time, this is a different thing, this is. And I don't know, I think people could have gravitated more towards a theme for their guild, whereas it's based off of where we're going in the story, what the theme is going to be.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, take a map like the size of Eternal Coliseum, take away the points, and just to put 10 people on either side, or even 15, and I think that could be a very interesting mode. I don't know what type of point system we would have, or if we would have to defend a lord type of deal, or
and that's one thing I would have loved, is like defending things, because that was one of the more fun parts, was taking over the guild hall. Like having your whole guild there, and it's like, oh, separate, go this point, and
that could be a guild mission, Dale.
Yeah, but like, and like if it was in the fractals, they could have been doing stuff like like the maw is attacking your guild hall and you just see a tentacle, boom. It's like, what the heck is happening? Like, I think I use that every time, but it's like they could have really played with the. They could have been like made me happy and been like, oh my god, the mists are breaking down and Abaddon's attacking your guild hall. I'd be like, let them take it. Sorry, I went somewhere
Turns
with
into
that.
an Abaddon guild hall.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, it's like they could have really played with the mists are this great little get out of jail free card for making random stuff happen that would
Becomes
break
filled with
normally
dark
break the
things.
lore.
Yeah. It's what else? After seeing Squad Link from Warframe, I kind of want them to add that too as like another type of social feature. That's just really cool. Now, for those who don't know, Squad Link in Warframe is a feature that they're adding so that if you're doing a mission in one section of the world and you're having trouble getting through a section of it, let's say there's a barrier up on the ship, and you can take it down, but it'd be much easier if someone helps you out by taking out the beacons on a planet. You can put out a beacon, and then another squad could put up their own beacon to look for requests, and they could take up your requests and help you out in that respect. So I don't know how that would work in Guild Wars 2, but that's a really cool feature I really like. So it works a bit, not necessarily kind of like Dragon Stand, because it's like you're all kind of working together for one type of thing. But
It would be like if Dragonstand was in the sense of like the one lane doing something helped one of the other lanes and vice
yeah,
that
exactly.
that's kind of like how that would work, at least on one map, because I think that might be the other issue is
Yeah, it's just
linking
putting it on
maps
a
up
different
and
map is really
yeah.
difficult. But like in that case, like everyone just gets the same rewards at that point because like you're all working together for one goal.
Yeah. But yeah, that's.
But yeah, I don't see that happening. It's just a cool concept that I have not seen in other games or on not a lot of games. I can't off the top of my head think of one. That's a really cool feature.
Some of the other things that they talked about was rewards, which I know that's been a driving force, and we kind of hit upon it here. Was like as we're trying to talk about the other things, it's like, well, how do we reward the players? Because like Age said, oh, you could continue like with for the example Dragon Batch, you could continue to play and show how good you are, but how many players are really doing that? Like,
Right.
they would prefer to have like the little trink like stuff getting from it, like, oh, I got 100 loot boxes compared to your 30, haha, I'm 70 better than you. It's like people naturally want that reward, at least in that situation. But yeah, they're as we were talking about like kind of the guild hall or the guild mission stuff and like or with the bounties, and I was like saying like if POF the guild could like somehow plant something down that would soup up the boss, maybe it drops special material that would then go back to being like you could make a special weapon set or something. I mean, we've seen them do weapon sets or something like that, but once again, that the problem with rewards is once you have them,
Yeah.
how many the population of people that want it are diminishing if you're not getting more people in, of course.
Yeah,
So
there's no
eventually
real.
that dies out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's rewards with a journey. I mean, if you look at legendary weapons, like the first hot ones were kind of very interesting, but obviously that wasn't sustainable. So it's hard to see sustainable like rewards in that sense of like giving you a journey aspect besides like actual story from like Living Worlds or something like that. Um and even then it was like I guess Skyscale could be considered a reward in that respect, but people
Yeah.
did not like the journey just because they wanted the Skyscale type of deal.
Well, also like with that, it was time gated. So like a lot of people wanted to be able to work on it when they had the time, as much as they had the time, instead of doing it on ArenaNet's schedule. I think that was the bigger issue with that.
And that starts to get into that area of a vertical progression, in the sense of it now gives you more access to things. Whereas, what if they would have gave you the sky scale, but it's like, hey, you want this special skin, do this journey. Mm-hmm. Then it's like, well, if I want the shiny looking skin, because that's basically what legendaries are.
Yeah,
is a shiny skin and the convenience of stat swapping and stuff like that. But
it's really difficult, because the only complaint I have about rewards is that well, like for PvP, and it's just like it's for everyone rather than having it reward scale on being how good you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's a personal thing, and I know this game is like more about being exclusive, like allowing everyone in, rather than just that notion of scaling it based on how good you are. But yeah,
but then, like they were saying earlier, that kind of just, you don't have an identity. You are it's like, it's a weird thing to think you are an NPC to someone else. Like,
yeah, well, I think the identity is that the game is kind of like, you can hop. The basic premise is that you can hop in whenever you want, do something, and you would, feel satisfied after playing. Like after an hour, you would feel like you would progress. I think that's good for some respects, but like for example, in terms of challenging content, I don't think they know what they want to do 100%.
yeah.
For in terms of world versus world, I'm really not sure what they want to do 100%. For PvP, it's kind of like almost there, but still not really sure what they want to do there. For raids, for fractals, there's a lot of things that are just, where do you want to take this? And I don't see the direction that they're going in that respect. For PvE, I can see in terms of the story, like they want to do this. They want to deliver a story every 3 months, deliver this certain set of masteries to deliver like certain features, and I can clearly see that in my head and where they want to go. In terms of like if they're going to go from season to season, I don't know, but at least I have a good idea of where story is going. Everything else seems kind of, I'm not sure, or it's like
that's kind of what the person's overarching thing about the direction is. It's like it just does it does feel very fragmented. And I think I was saying to you, might have been after the other show or something, but is like don't it, wow. I don't know. I just
wow.
No, Guild Wars 2. One of the things I wanted to actually say earlier was some of the things that maybe they could address that other MMOs have done. Like, it's kind of weird that people are saying that they're getting burned out because there isn't any like new content to jump into. People in ESO were getting burned out because they were having too many events back to back to back. Like they were getting too much content or wanting to play, which kind of goes back to some of the stuff people were saying of like, make events that make you want to go back to the dungeons or something like that. Like what, and maybe this is an idea to maybe appease everybody. Like of, people wanted the, like a mount skin to get in as an in-game reward. Well, what they did in ESO was they have this, granted they only have one mount type, like it's just a riding one and different skins, but they have an Indrik mount or something, which as you did these like little festival events, you got tickets, you would turn those tickets in for across the first year to get the standard one. and then later on, you could then eventually get you could combine those to get the Indrik mount, but then you could basically evolve them, the different styles, like they had like a more like sunny type one or stuff like that. But along the lines of, during these events, what if you could slowly work towards, over a year, a unique skin for this mount, and then next year maybe the one of the other mounts, or or a shorter time frame. That's all variable, really, but you could basically work towards something in the long run, and
they'll just
you
always
could
make
finally get some skin in game.
I
Yeah,
mean, that'd be cool.
it won't happen though.
No, it won't. But I've
It'd
just
be
asked
nice.
for one skin arena. But they do things like, it's like, hey, X amount of years ago, this is when this DLC came out. So if you go back to this content, so what if it was like, oh, POF came out on this date. Hey, all the POF events and bosses and whatnot all drop double loot, or double, or whatever, more loot or something like that. But they also have events where it's like, go back and do dungeons. We were talking about dungeons, but yeah, guild mount skin. I mean, and that's my one thing, is if we start saying, oh, just give us more skins, that's why I'm like saying, like, literally one in the game for each would be nice. Maybe in different avenues, like maybe the guild mount skin is a raptor skin. Maybe this one I'm talking about is a griffin skin, or whatever. There's different avenues. Maybe the Warclaw one would be through World v World. I don't know. One that's only through PvP obtainable. Like, so maybe if you want an in-game skin, you'd have to go through different avenues to get a full set.
That works, yeah.
But yeah, I wish they would add dungeons, period. But yeah. But I don't know. I think we've kind of tackled that Reddit post in general. But I think one of the scariest things is, normally when they haven't really been talkative, it was because the community was like tended to be super rude about something, and like they would just be like, okay, we're not going to communicate anymore. But I don't remember seeing anything like that. So now I'm sitting here going, did they just not have anything to talk about, which is even more worrying? Like, that's like I think that's what I was talking about the other during one of the other shows, was like, I think that's what makes me sit here and worried the most, is like, right now it feels like they, and I don't want this to sound like mean or something, but they don't have a reason to be silent, except that they don't have anything to talk about.
Yeah, it's kind of like a going on a judge us what we ship type of mentality right now, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know how much this works in the industry, but like, I feel like honesty is the best way to go about things. But, and also communicating what you're definitely going to be putting out, type of deal. Like, not things that you're going to work on and then like they have the chance of like not coming out. But again, I don't know how hard it is to say, hey, we're going to be delivering this feature, right? So
and a lot of times it's the player base isn't helpful with that either. Like, it's not just on the devs themselves. It's
and then it's
you
like,
put out a roadmap. It's a promise. It's set in stone. It's like, no, stuff happens. Stuff gets in the way.
Yeah. So if you're gonna, like, for alliances, for example, I would like them. I'm willing to wait for them, but I need to know if it's like actually being worked on, type of deal at this point, because like you said, you talked about it, right? So, and this is something you're definitely going to be doing.
And some kind of update of like, this is where we are with it. Even if like they said, this is where we are with it, these are some of the difficulties we've run into, we're trying to solve or whatever, like something would be
Yeah.
nice.
But the last thing they talked about was like what was it? The legendary thing and the rune swap
Mm-hmm.
type of deal.
Well, that was in the roadmap that Mike Z put out of like the
Yeah.
general things
And then
coming.
eventually build templates and stuff like that. So we know stuff that's coming, but we don't know like the progress on that. And I guess that skips a lot of people's mind, and I understand that because it's not like a huge thing. It's not like a huge feature besides like to build templates. Like people really focus on that one, but that probably hasn't been really worked on just yet. They're probably just flushing out still ideas still.
Right.
And yeah, Chad, I agree. Anything at this point would be nice because, yeah, like I said earlier, it just feels like since it doesn't seem, I haven't heard any like community backlash thing where they've been silent for this, so it just feels like they have nothing to talk about, which is worrying. And it might not be the case. Maybe like I don't know. I don't know either way. But and like Chad's saying, they should just give us a hint and put bold red letters on the bottom, never 100%. That's great and all. They kind of did that with, I remember Colin's one roadmap thing where he was like, oh yeah, we're thinking about doing
quarterly updates that ended up just being one update because
yeah, and they were like, this is just the roadmap idea thing. It could subject to change, but no, that became gospel set in stone. So whether you put that in there or not, people still take it as definitive. It's like I said, it's not just their issue. It's also everyone community's issue as well. It's a two-way street, unfortunately. But
yeah, I feel like with the difference between like a single player or live service roadmap, so much anyway. And we'll talk about live service after. I have a thing about that. So the difference between live service roadmaps and MMO roadmaps is that MMO roadmaps definitely change over time just due to the fact of being an MMO. It's an MMO. It's supposed to last for like 5 to 10 years, ideally, and versus a live service game which lasts 2 to 3 years. So they're always going to put out usually what they're going to say unless it's Anthem and things go horribly wrong. But I think like in this day and age, we take those roadmaps as like, oh, this is definitely what they're going to do.
Right.
Whereas like in an MMO, it's like, this is what we want to do.
yeah.
So, but in terms of the roadmap that they recently put up by Mike Z, like I think those are things that it's like, okay, definitely. And he actually detailed it's like, these are things we're definitely going to do. These are things we're thinking about. And these are things that are like,
yeah, like short term, midterm, long term, maybe.
Yeah. Not even that. It's like these are things that like we would like to do, but we're not sure of yet. Like these are like on the table type of deal. But people like need to take things with a grain of salt, and I know that's kind of hard, but like just be happy with the things that they guarantee. But I think the main problem is like the things they're guaranteeing are nice, but they're not the things that people really want to focus on. Like I'm pretty sure people want to know what's going on with fractals, what's the future of raids, what's going on with PvP, because you said there are going to be like 10v10s and things like that, and what's going on with World versus World, the alliance of it. Like these are the core parts of your game that people want to know about. So I want you to keep quiet about that. That's a problem.
I mean, any other thoughts? I mean, I think we've driven this one
into the ground.
It's just with I understand people's frustrations with the game based on like all these different things that we talked about, and I don't think there's a short-term solution to all of it. But definitely like they need to address a few things. Obviously we have to be I want to say patient, because for some sections of things we've been very patient. But I guess understanding to some degree. we have to be understanding. But like at some at a certain point, it's like, okay, we need to ask ourselves what's going on with certain things.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, I think the overarching idea is we just need. I think, the whole direction idea. It's like they need to find a balance. We need to find a balance. Speaking of balance, we had a post on the forums about the upcoming balance changes. So they said with the upcoming update, we're continuing to create the promised trade-offs to some elite specialization lines with changes to Chronomancer shatters, an overhaul of Scrapper specialization traits, and some improvements to the base Necromancer Death Shroud, all in order to make the choice of an elite specialization more meaningful. Man, we were talking about earlier how they're already pretty meaningful, but all right. We're also doing some follow-up work on the changes to Berserker from the last balance update to tune up a few areas, and their other main focus of the update is adjustment to core trait lines on several professions to address some pain points and power imbalances. And finally, thieves are getting an entirely new skill type that replaces traps. I'm sure Age will have his thoughts on that when we get to it. But yeah, we'll probably just I'll link it in chat here in case you do not have it, but we'll kind of go in that order somewhat quickly, but just kind of like the idea of like we'll start with Elementalist. We're not going to probably go through each type point unless you chat brings something up or we all do, but if you do have the wiki version, feel free to link it in chat. Yeah, first up we had the Elementalists, and their general concept for this was, in addition to various Tempest improvements, this update includes a major change to how core elemental specialization lines work. The weapon cooldown traits are being merged into the Grandmaster minor traits for the 4 primary elemental lines, and previously the cooldown trait and other available options were mutually exclusive, and its nature of letting you use abilities more frequently tended to crowd out those alternatives. So by folding the functionality into minor traits, they're recognizing that taking an elemental specialization represents an investment in that element's skill. So, I mean,
yeah.
do you guys think they've achieved that with these changes? That it seems like if you're picking those trait lines, you want to be that type of elementalist.
Yeah, it's kind of like going back to Guild Wars 1, where you, as an elementalist, I focused more on what was it, fire? I think I put more points into fire, just because like I wanted more damage. But it seems like there's a lot going on with this, so you can't be like a jack of all trades type of deal. It seems like you have to focus on maybe like 2 to 3 things now. So like what they're doing is they're moving all the training types, so pyromancer training, aquamancer training, all that, they're moving it to one, the Grandmaster minor, and then we have all these different traits give different abilities, so that I think fire is more like a damage / Condi one. Water's always been about healing. Earth has always been about like kind of sustainability type of deal. I think it does have like a bit of damage and more like cripple emobes type of deal. Aeromancer has always been about damage and like piercing, I feel like. It seems like I understand what they're trying to do, but it seems like they want you to focus on one thing, which is overall it's a nerf because like you can't do all the things, right? You have to focus. Um, it's hard for me to say. Just I kind of need to see it when it's live. Because like with Thief last time, I made like a whole graph of like how all those traits moved and changed. But I feel like I have to do that with Elementalist at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems like it's achieving that, like you're saying. It like you're gonna have to invest in certain lines. You're not just gonna be master of all the elements, and like your power is gonna be in whatever couple ones you pick. But is that gonna be a good idea or not? Which I see Chet's referring to it as an elementalist nerf, but
Yeah.
For me, like I play my elementalist all the time, but like I don't know, looking at those changes, I feel like I have to play with it in game to really get a good handle on how much it is. It's also a question of how much it's going to affect me, and I'm not sure it will, just because I play an unusual build.
and I was gonna say, how does that affect weavers? I mean,
Right.
because they're supposed to
So
mend
annoying.
the.
God.
Mhm.
I if this I don't mind if this affects Weavers. They're so annoying to fight.
Hey, weavers are awesome.
Coming from a
Dead
thief.
eyes that are the worst.
I never said they weren't awesome. They're just annoying to fight so much. Just don't die in Marvel vs. World. It's so annoying. Uh, it's hard for me to say, honestly. It does feel like an overall nerf just because you have to focus, but with your lines, but I don't know. Approximately 10% less damage.
I mean, I mean, they are making improvements to Tempest, which is good because one of the reasons I switched off of Tempest was Weaver was just all around better, but I always liked Tempest a lot.
Yeah, they're forcing you to take lightning with Raging Storm.
Ow. Don't do that. Ow. Ow. Stop. Thank you.
I mean, any other thoughts for Elementalist? And
No.
I mean, we can always talk about them later, or if you're watching on YouTube, we can. But let's move on to the next one on the list, which is the Engineer. And it kind of looks like here they're kind of making, aiming to refocus the Scrapper as a tank-like character that utilizes personal barrier applications to stay in a fight. So they're reworking Impact Savant trait with barrier with dealing damage, making the Scrapper a durable combatant as long as they can keep dishing out damage. So it kind of sounds interesting because it kind of makes it sound like an active tank. Like,
I know a lot of people are very upset about when you overheat, you lose your F1 to F4 skill ability. I know like they're like I remember this distinct comment that was like they were not happy about that at all. So that was one thing. And I think honestly for Scrapper it was just making their sustain a more tolerable to deal with, especially in PvP, because they were super good at bunkering. I remember one change I read it and it seemed like it would help, but I wasn't sure. It was a change to barrier, I think. Barrier or regen. And I'm trying to find it.
yeah, I remember talking about the regen. Refocus on barrier led us to the removal of the rapid regeneration trait, which was offering too much health recovery.
That one, yeah. So honestly, that's probably good. I kind of want them to buff pistol. I think it was main hand pistol. Actually, maybe both, honestly, because I don't see that getting much play. They've been always buffing rifle. I don't know how good it is now, but I think pistol.
I know Aaron would have a field day. He could probably dust off his pistol build.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So yeah, other than the overheats, I think Arena really wants people to manage their overheat, but there's a trait that kind of makes you so like if you manage heat or if you don't manage heat. But the overheat here kind of just punishes no matter what if you overheat. So I think they could remove that, honestly. But the
Yeah.
rest seems okay to me. I'm
Yeah,
not a
I
scrapper
mean,
player, so don't judge me.
yeah, I was saying that's why we try to tell you how the order we're going in case there are people that play the professions more than certain professions more than we do. So,
Yeah.
shall we move on to the Guardian?
Yep. So for Guardian, some power from various trait lines have been shifted around in order to create better tiered trait options. The Retribution trait line and Radiance line in the Radiance line had a lot of power and was crowding out other options. We transferred some of this power over to Zeal, along with a few other trait reworks to make that type of damage bonus more reliable, while most symbols will become more powerful. As a result of these changes, we're taking special care with the symbol of punishment. Due to its low recharge for the symbol, we have reduced the damage of the extra strikes rather than the symbol itself, as it causes the skill to have unpredictable damage based on the size of the target. Overall, these two changes net a small enhancement to the skill. Additionally, we're tuning up a few Dragon Hunter skills and traits to both improve the use cases and clarify their descriptions. Oh, that leap of faith change though. The skill now heals you for each foe in addition to its previous effect. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm like looking at it. It's kind of like
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty cool.
it's just I'm like confused because it's like symbolic power increases the symbol damage from 10% to 30%. Unfortunately, the trait no longer has a chance to inflict burning. Instead, it causes the charge symbols to charge your justice passive effect twice as fast. But then it goes on to say like symbol punishment, lower the damage of extra strikes by 25%. So you're basically just recorrecting what you changed.
Yeah.
And that it's
Wait.
like
Lower damage extra.
at
Oh
least the
yeah,
PVE.
symbol punishment is used a lot in raid. I just realized that. And symbolic power increases symbol damage from 1030 to charge your justice. Yeah, that is kind of a nerf for raids, isn't it? Because oh yeah, that does suck. Oh. Oh, is this oh, sorry, I didn't have time to read. I was super tired today.
Yeah, it's just
Radiant power gives 150 ferocity. Straight no. They're moving a lot of things around. I don't know how this works
gonna
now.
shake up a lot of builds.
That yeah, because I see why it nerfs the fractals and ray build, just because if you had radiance, like they said in the beginning, like the retribution trait in radiance had a lot of power, which crowded out other options. But if they're going to make it more diverse, those are lines that you may not necessarily take, and so it's kind of a nerf for those builds, which makes sense. I wonder. It's starting to make me think. It's interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I'm
do like.
definitely not happy about the Guardian changes. It's
I like the longbow changes. But yeah, they're just spreading out the power of Guardian and Dragon Hunter in general. So that's not going to be super fun for Guardians. That's
uh,
all. That
Yeah, I
makes
was gonna
sense.
say, kind of just like Chad's saying, it kind of just really shakes up kind of the common build for,
Yeah.
well, guardian professions, which would be the dragon hunters.
Yeah,
But
so it seems like you take Radiance and Zeal, which may not be ideal. Yeah. I rhymed there. Okay.
whoa, what was that laugh about, Mister Thief?
I
Can't wait to
said
get to yours.
I said no, like no, as like it's like it seems like you take Radiance and Zeal, which may not be ideal. So I'm like,
Hmm.
I rhymed.
Okay. I thought you were just laughing at our profession.
Oh no, I'll laugh at another profession. I want to get to it. Don't worry.
Well, I
Uh-oh.
was saying next up, and I'm hopeful it's the mesmer. Are they still getting beaten to death?
This I don't think
I was gonna say, cause
if Kitten's in
yeah,
chat, she can tell us. But like,
I was gonna say, cause they say they're revisiting the Chronomancer, which is oh no, Chad's saying it's
uh,
still getting beaten to death. Um,
yeah, because like the new shatters are
yeah,
uh one of the things I wasn't sure about.
yeah.
Um,
Basically, how they describe it, the shatters. For the Chronomancer specifically, yeah, Chad is not a fan of it.
it's like
They behave differently than the core Mesmer shatters. Oh, great. Make it even more confusing. All right.
they did
And
they kind
gain.
of gave what they did to Thief, what they did for the steel ability.
Okay, so yeah, they gain extra properties in exchange for requiring more planning to use properly.
Hmm.
Yeah, so the new ones are um a split second. The skill deals damage for each clone shattered, with additional bonus damage when striking slowed foes. Rewinder is the second one. The skill deals damage and inflicts confusion for each clone shattered. Additionally, it recharges itself by 5 seconds for each clone shattered. Time sync replaces. This skill replaces inherits traits from diversion, which I don't know. The skill dazes foes and applies 2 seconds of slow for each clone shattered. Continuous split. Continuous shift, sorry. The skill now replaces the F4, which was distortion, and I feel like that's not. They're not going to be happy about that. Additionally, it applies 1 second of distortion when cast, which is whatever. As in not a good whatever. Duration has been rescaled based on the number of clones 4.56 seconds. The skill now specifies it cannot be reset by other Mesmer skills.
Oof.
Wait, this skill now specifies that it cannot be reset by other Mesmer skills.
But
Well, because
isn't that?
the Chronomancer with the, I'm assuming, alacrity.
Oops.
I assume you can use Alacrity. It just that's for cooldowns. Like you can't
Oh,
reset. Oh, because there's a signet I think that resets shatters, so you can't
Oh.
use that to reset the continuum shift.
mm.
Oh, that's brutal. Damn. I'm not trying to make light of it. I was like, jeez. What else do we have?
This is.
That's brutal, actually. I'm not gonna lie. That changes. Did they change anything to alacrity? I assume alacrity per clone shattered has been increased from 1 second to 1.5. I guess it's compensate for that shatter change. That's brutal. Sees the moment the quickness per clone shatter has been increased 1.5. They did something to illusions, didn't they? Illusion counter that tracks clones now decrements immediately when a shatter is cast rather than waiting for the clones to get destroyed. That's another one, it's true. Speed of sand, instead of granting super speed when dodging, the trait increases and causes Mirage Cloak to grant 0.66% movement speed. Oh, so they remove. Okay.
This
Wow.
is just.
They really
Like,
hit the Chronomancer in a different way. Jeez.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
they're rope doping him. They were like giving him like jabs, and now they just went for the hook.
they
Like,
went, yeah, because like they changed the when they changed on Daredevil the steel to like reduce range because
Hmm.
it's that was supposed to be the trade-off. I'm like, I don't know if I like that or not. It's and like going in, it's like I want to steal from 1200. Why? Well, 900. I think it was yeah, 1200, 1200, whatever range it was. It was a decent range. Um,
wait, you're stealing from 1200? What are you doing? Like, give me what's
not,
in your pockets.
no,
Okay, bro.
it was 900. 1200 is too much. But yeah. Uh, those shatters are really
Yeah,
that especially
that's
continuum shift. That's kind of brutal, and especially taking away distortion, which I
Hmm.
know like a lot of like I know a lot of like mesmers, like, including myself in raids. Like it's like that was my go-to button just to like save myself from doing stupid things. Um, so yeah, I guess it'd be a lot more
I guess
careful
what
now.
your go-to button now is Alt F4. They just, yeah.
That was I think it's just the shatters from like everything else is kind of like we could talk about it type of deal, but like the shatters are definitely one of the ones that definitely changes the. It's yikes pretty much.
I'm just speechless because, like, at first, the guy was like joking, like, oh, everybody's getting the nerf bad. Like, I just feel bad right now for Mesmers.
Yeah,
Like,
I. It looks like they want them to do.
I mean, what next? Are they working out the next Mesmer Elite spec is called Wildstar? Like,
It looks. Wow, that's too far.
I don't know.
I don't
Not the
know.
way this is going.
Yeah, it seems like they just want them to be more damage oriented, but like
It's never how a
they
Mesmer,
lost a
like,
lot of utility too.
it's never been what a Mesmer was about. It was just damage. In
Yeah,
Guild Wars 1 or 2, it was like,
that's brutal.
the
Let's move
names
on.
aren't even damage oriented. Illusions, like, it's like,
That's, yeah. Yeah.
oh,
Let's move on.
that's
I will say Shatters a pretty brutal change.
ouch. I mean, hopefully it's just reads very poorly and it plays great when it
Oh no.
happens.
It's yeah. Well, don't worry. I'll find out. We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll
Like,
pay
all I
attention
can
to
say is
Reddit.
I'm sorry, Mesmers.
Yeah,
Next up,
yeah.
we have
Next.
the Necromancer.
Okay, while Reapers were designed to be more durable frontline fighters, the Soul Eater trait is providing a little too much survivability, so we're removing the ability for this trait to heal while in a shroud. We're also making some changes to core Necromancer Death Shroud skills. These changes are aimed at improving the uptime of Shroud skills to put them more in line with their elite specialization counterparts. Okay. Not a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Uh,
there was not much of a change. Like, at least multiple skills wise. Like,
yeah. It seems like they it seems like with the exception of the Soul Eater trait, they like where Reaper is at this point in
I was gonna say
time.
it just
I
seems
mean,
like a lot
Reaper
of
is
like,
pretty solid in general.
yeah, I was gonna say it looks like a lot of just reduced recharges by X amount. But yeah, like you said, Soul Eater is basically kind of the big thing. Is this trait no longer heals while Shroud Life Force replaces health, which
Yeah. They changed a lot of base necro. That's pretty cool. A lot of reduced recharges
see,
for
like chat
base.
saying, core necro all the way in PvP. So look, you buy hot, you ain't buying power for at least necro if you're playing necro, Or if
I
you play
still
Mesmer,
say
you just
Reaper and
don't have
PvP.
power.
Whatever.
I like Reaper the best in PvE. It's just fun to play.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
satisfying. It doesn't feel overpowered, but it's fun.
yeah. I don't know. It seems okay. Soul Eater affects pretty much everyone. So
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, that one was kind of not that painful, but
So wait, the Soul Eater just what did Soul Eater do aside from giving you health?
It replenishes your health while in Shroud.
Yeah, but it says it no longer heals while Shroud Life Force replaces health. So if it's
Yeah,
not doing that,
basically you get healed for damage you deal, but they
mhm.
took that away when you're in Reaper Shroud.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My brain was flipping things and I was like, what?
Yeah.
All right.
well, that one wasn't that bad, but apparently the next one's not any better like the Mesmer, which was the Ranger.
So in this update, we've made some reductions to tone down the strength of some Soul Beast PvP and World vs. World builds. While we believe the builds and playstyles have a solid place in the game and don't want to take them out of play, certain elements are a bit too far over the edge. The skill Sikkim is providing a damage modifier that is significantly higher than any other skill. Persistent bonus damage increase, so reducing the bonus to match other similar skills in a competitive setting. This reduction only occurs while merged with your pet. We're also reducing access to the unblockable effect by providing some skills and traits in order to create more opportunities for others.
Yeah,
Good.
the reduction was just in PvP and World World only. Apparently, it was originally 40%, and now it's down to 25%. Which, yeah, 40% does seem like a lot when you're going up against it, but
Yeah.
trying to see real quick the
So Sikkim reduce the bonus damage applied to a merged soul beast from 40% to 25% in PP and World vs. World only. Damage bonus for pets remains unchanged. Fix the bug that caused the skills to not grant the listed movement speed bonus. Okay, so
Yeah.
seems good.
yeah, but wasn't
Yeah.
like Chad saying nerf to the ground, but wasn't 40% a bit extreme?
Well, they said they were trying to bring it online with other similar scales. So if other similar scales are like 25% in those modes, then it makes sense. It's a huge change, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on a weird point with this because I still play base ranger. I don't do druid and I don't do soul beast at all. So
Yeah.
But
Ooh,
Harley, didn't you know you can buy power by buying the expansions?
I like core ranger a lot.
that's preference, not power, Dale. Ancestral Grace, the skill no longer evades attacks. Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Increased recharge from 18 to 20 if at least one ally other than yourself is healed. The recharge is reduced by 5 seconds. Oh, Call of the Wild. The unblockable boon provided by this skill now lasts for the next 3 attacks within 5 seconds instead of all attacks within the next 4 seconds. Oh.
Yeah, they kind of made that more skill based, kind of like almost like how blocking works, where it's
Yeah. Clarion Bond, the unblockable boon provided by the skill now lasts for the next 2 attacks. And yeah, still pretty much the same thing. What does this do? Oh, when you swap pets. Wow. You know what? I can live with that.
yeah, they're trying to make it more quote unquote skill based, where it's like you have to time it right, not just you get an invulnerability shield for X amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now it's still a trade-off. Okay, I see. Yeah, there's a bunch of Unstoppable Union. This trait no longer grants an unblockable boon. Instead, it removes movement and parrying conditions in addition to previous effects of stun breaking when activating beast mode. Yeah, they removed a lot of the unblockable hits, or
Yeah.
just made it more skill based. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't
mean,
say is a bad thing.
yeah, I was gonna say it seems good overall. I think like it's gonna hurt, it's certainly going to hurt, but I don't think it puts them in a bad place.
This is good.
Especially if we're trying to tout that it's supposed to be more skill based than just mashing the button. I mean,
Yeah,
it does make
I
it
think
more timing it for blocking the big attacks and not just, all right, hopefully they do their big attack in the next 5 seconds or,
yeah, I think it's fine personally.
Yeah. Next up, we got the Revenant.
Revenants. All right, so when we revert to Sword Skill 5 from Grasping Shadow to Death Strike, we also carried over the slow and chill conditions inflicted. However, since Death Strike is a damage skill rather than a controlled skill, we are removing this component because it muddies the new purpose of the skill. Similarly, we are reworking both Embrace the Darkness and Unyielding Anguish in the Malik stance that both act as a pulsing areas effect with the intent to better differentiating when they should be used. Embrace Darkness is being focused on inflicting torment. Unyielding Anguish is being revamped, becoming a setup skill that gathers up enemies, and is being renamed Call to Anguish. Beyond these changes, we are also scaling up skills and traits that look like they were just marginally out of play, reducing some might generation in PvP. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say it just seemed like a lot of just PvP and a little bit of World v World changes, but yeah, when you mentioned that, Embrace the Darkness, this skill is now a mobile dark field, increased recharge to 10 seconds. This skill no longer grants a stat increase and is no longer unblockable and unblindable. The amount of torment applied per pulse is unchanged, but using a skill that costs energy now increases the stacks of torment applied to the next pulse by 2. The skill now deals a small amount of damage each pulse. I don't know, I kind of like
I
that's a mobile.
like that actually, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mobile dark field too. Oh, that's interesting. I
Yeah.
want to try that. It's kind of like
Oh, go ahead.
what's that Reaper? The Necro Elite that does every time it pulses, it add a new condition. That thing, but you have it on.
Is it Pestilence or something like that? Or
I forgot what it's called, but I think people understand what I mean anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's. But I mean, I'm wondering if you pair it with, like they said, they switched around Unyielding Anguish to Call to Anguish, which it is now a leap finisher. Which what happens if you leap into a dark, like, does the dark field surrounding you? Because isn't there?
Yeah, so it's
because I was gonna say, does it work like the Berserker one where when they made it surround you?
Yeah, pretty much, right? So it's going to be around you. I don't know how much range it has. I guess it's the same range as Embrace the Darkness, but it seems like you would want to pop that and then Unyielding Anguish. And
especially because after you use a skill, it's going to make the torment tick,
Plague Lance, thank you. That was the Necro one.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in this. I mean, like Chad's saying, like finally they nerfed the Revenant in like PvP, which that's always been that one thing I've always heard is like, oh, take the Revenant into PvP in World World, you're just like it's a lot. You're so overpowered. You're so powerful. So I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, at least in those avenues. But I'm definitely intrigued to try those. Call to Anguish and Embrace the Darkness.
Yeah, I think I like some of the changes, especially Rapid Flow, because that allows you to not take a more heavier centric healing. This actually helps you in your survivability for fights as well. Shining Aspects is really nice change too, so they remove the internal cooldown. It seems like they just they did actually decent balancing on Revenant.
Yeah. I'm kind of intrigued to see the new Revenant reworks.
Yeah, I think it's pretty nice.
Yeah. Speaking of nice, the Thief. I
Yeah.
don't think they got. I don't think it was too nice for them, but
In this update, we were working Shadow Art's trait line for Thieves as a support and survivalist focused line build. We wanted to refocus around its stronger themes as well as improve the potency of its minor traits. Many of the more passive traits have been adjusted or rebuilt to have more active effects, while some of the more niche traits like Merciful Ambush have been adjusted to have more general use applications. Meanwhile, new traits like Shadow Savior and rework traits like Rending Shade will help improve new ways to approach combat. Thief traps are being retired for now and replaced by a new type of ability, preparations. All right, so the only thing I question is honestly Dagger Storm. They've reduced the cast time by 30%, increased damage by 30%, which I have no idea why. It's super strong already, but
yeah, seriously, why do you guys get a portal now?
I don't need that. And yes, Thief gets a portal. I guess we'll jump to that one real quick. So it's one of the preparation skills. So this skill, this new skill will mark your current location with shadow magic, and then you have shadow flips over to shadow portal. This new skill will unleash the shadow magic at your prepared location, creating a one-way portal that you and your allies can take. Allies traveling through the portal will be granted stealth, and foes around the portal exit will be weakened. The skill split is between game modes, allowing 5 allies through PvE and Robust World, while only allowing 1 ally through PvP. So,
Well, I guess it's good that it's limited like that, but so it's
yeah.
not as powerful as because
But,
when you're reading all that stuff, I was like, that is some BS.
yeah, so at least like in PvE, we can actually portal people and jumping puzzles now, so that's nice. Uh, so World versus World, it's actually nice for Havocs. Um,
Oh no, the utility is great for them. It's just
yeah, the
that
utility
doesn't
is really
seem
nice.
very thiefy to me.
Yeah. But keep in mind that you do get stealth on the other side, so that's pretty nice. I don't know how long that is too, so I assume like maybe 2-3 seconds type of
And
deal.
Shadow Portal is a standard thing for like core thief.
No,
No, oh
what
okay. It's
Shadow
for
Step? You mean?
no Shadow the prepare Shadow Portal.
No, it's a new skill.
Yeah, but I mean, is it in the core thief or is it in one of the elite
Oh
specs?
yeah, it's gonna be core.
That just doesn't seem thematically. That seems like something like a mix between like a magic user and a thief. Like some of that, like maybe a necromancer, like dealing with the dark arts or something, or what a mesmer would be for. It just doesn't seem like it'd be a thief
Uh,
standard.
Shadow Step is kind of a magic skill, like you're porting from one location to the other. I
Yeah, remove that too.
Wow. Uh, I it's the preparation skills are, I think each of them have their own kind of place, because like there's one with like damage, there's damage in CC, there's one with like condition based, there's one with like hard crowd control, which is actually kind of nice. It's like the Dragon Hunter elite skill.
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, that just feels like this could have been an elite spec skill line, like
but
like
yeah,
seal area, stifling magic. It's like it.
it's a new, it seems to me like it's a new type of trap, with the exception of the shadow portal. So it's like you have manual control over when you trigger these. They're like manual traps rather than traps people go over and trigger
Yeah,
themselves.
it's just no. It just from the description of them, it just seems like they could have just been a different elite specs skill line of, and then heck, you would have things that would team up. Be like these are better traps that work in congruence with traps, so you could have a better trap build for maybe a thief. But
There's not really a
yeah,
good
but I mean, if you
trap
add more
build.
skills, and they would hopefully add more skill or trait lines that would boost it up, which so you would have maybe
It's-
a trap build.
Yeah,
but-
it's not like it. I don't see this being like we're gonna like put all preparations on your utility bar. It's more like I'll take like one, if anything, because you still have to take utility for survivability.
And yeah,
Oh.
like chat's saying, that it's like main reasons for trapper runes. I just hate how that is. It's like we have these runes that are established, and then we just change the name. Like these basically are like traps, but they're not traps because we changed the name, so traps don't trap stuff doesn't work with. It's like, what's the point of having these things if nothing can link up with anything? Like these rune sets are pointless for any other profession. Like it's.
Well, not everyone has traps, so you
Yeah, because they keep taking them from everyone that gets traps, apparently.
just the one, unless it was, yeah. But
But did they do that with? Wouldn't they do that with like Guardians last time or something? They changed like shouts or something to commands, or there was some kind of profession where they changed like the you're muted. You're muted, Robin.
Sorry. I think that was Ranger last time.
Was it Ranger? Okay, yeah, they changed the. That's
or
it.
something like that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, chats. Yeah, it was
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
it just seems like they're doing that more and more. It's just like they're making like runes pointless. I mean,
Well,
maybe that's.
I'm not pointless, but probably like trying to make them less like strong because some of the runes are really, really strong with certain builds, and it's probably a bit stronger than intended.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of balance.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I kind of like some of the trait changes. Especially there was one that gives you stealth when you use any healing skill now, which is just super helpful. I'm trying to remember any other good ones, like ones that popped out to me. Oh, Hidden Thief actually grants 20% recharge to deceptions, which is actually super helpful because those are really heavy. Unless you have improv. And I think they gave us fear in Rending Shade. I'm not sure why they did that. It's like if you hit a boonless foe, you grant fear in an area, small area. That was interesting, but yeah. And Smokescreen, this creates a ring instead of a line, which is actually I'm kind of excited for that one. And Infiltrator Signet increased the range from 1200, so I can just burst from far. I like / intrigued by some of the changes.
Thief needs to get mesmered. That's all I'm saying.
Also, I want to point out that the thief notes are like twice and in some cases 3 times as long as any of the other professions.
Yeah, and I think in this case it's because they're literally switching out all of the shadow arts. It looks like
Right.
like mixing them up. So
Yeah. I didn't map out everything, but I'm just gonna see when it goes live and mess around with it.
Mm-hmm.
well,
That's
any other thoughts on Thief?
You didn't have to buff Dagger Storm, but thank you. I will receive all the hate. Thief is gonna get all the hate now. There you go.
Rightfully so.
Oh, it only increased the damage in PvE. That's interesting.
Good.
Yeah, it says reduce the casting time by 30%, increase damage by 33 in PvE only.
Yeah, I don't know why though.
Hmm.
Seems okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just an odd choice to me.
Yeah, that's all I got.
But next, last but not least, we got the Warrior.
There's one change I have a question, but we like how gameplay changes the last balance update have turned out for Berserker. We also heard your feedback and recognize that the damage has been lower than expected For the amount of investment involved in this update, we're tuning up some Berserker skills and traits to give these builds a bit more power and longer windows to stay in Berserk mode. The Bloody Roar trait has changed its stacking method and result in a net increase in damage, so we are lowering its value in competitive modes. Since Berserker bursts in those modes are already difficult to deal with, similarly, we are also making adjustments to Rampage to rein in some of its excess power in PvP. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I
What?
was gonna say changes.
Increase
Looks like they're just getting buffed.
I don't know about the headbutt. Headbutt seems really weird. Skills. The skill now removes all stacks of stability when casting and does 50% more damage as stability was removed. I mean,
Huh.
I guess that's good for damage, but that's interesting. I guess you pop like a stacking stability skill and then you trigger
And then
this.
headbutt.
Yeah,
Oh,
or
but you'd want to be careful about when you use it though, because sometimes you really want the stability.
yeah. I think there's a trait or something that gives you stability when in Berserk mode, and or when you trigger Berserk mode, and then you use headbutt naturally just to break out. Or was it the opposite? I don't remember, but I remember. Yeah, but it's an interesting change.
Yeah, they're doing pretty well.
Yeah. Rampage changed recharge to 120 seconds in all game modes. This skill no longer grants bonus toughness. Damage reduction has been increased from 25 to 50%. Damage reduction is now calculated multiplicatively instead of
Multiplicatively.
yeah. That's a nerf, but
Well, they had to give them something so they couldn't just.
They're like, it's not all buffs. We're fair and balanced.
It's not toughness, it's vitality.
Oh.
That's
It's a mistake in the notes, he said.
Oh.
They probably posted something.
They didn't copy pasta?
They might have copy pasted it, but what they copied from might have had it wrong by accident.
Oh, okay, I see. Oh, it's a mistake in the notes. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't get bonus vital. Oh, damn. Actually, that is quite because you get like a bunch. Anything else?
Oh, they're sitting
okay.
pretty.
Yeah.
Well, the Bloody Roar stacking damage multiplicatively instead of additively is pretty big.
Yeah, reduce bonus damage. Yeah, that seems fine since they're doing it that way. Yeah. I think that's
good
it.
on you, Warriors. Any other thoughts on Warrior or any of the balance patch in general?
I still need to get rid of Deadeye. Waiting.
I just still think it's a weird, the portals and the preparations for Thief. I just feels very weird thematically, but.
Yep.
Let me have this, Dale.
No.
I've been nerfed for so long. Let me have this.
Aw.
No.
Feels bad, man.
You know what I'll let you have?
The
ability to get some nice Guild Wars 2 merchandise.
Nice.
We talked about it last week because they Wildbangarangs kind of tweeted out a little teaser that they were working on some Guild Wars 2 merch, and we were kind of showing off some of the other stuff that he did, like World of Warcraft. They've done like Warhammer stuff. They've done loads of different, things in video games and kind of pop culture. But yeah, they kind of showed off a drawing of what looks like three of the Guild Wars 2 skins kind of put onto the leggings like they've done in the past with some of the other IPs. And I was curious what your guys' thoughts of it were.
That Grunth one, though. Is it Grantler? I don't know. That's like that long jaw.
Right. I like the one on the right with the fire.
Yeah.
Fire.
My head is
Yeah.
like, yeah, when you see me in those leggings, that's how far your jaw will drop. Ha!
Hey,
I'm excited. Like Wildbangarang stuff is always a little bit on the expensive side, but their stuff is always very high quality. So I'm super excited about
Yeah.
it.
Show me hoodies, then I'll.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm curious if they're just focusing only on this for right now, like just maybe leggings, or are they gonna have like leggings, maybe like hoodies, like a variety of stuff at the get go, or they're gonna
I would
slowly
imagine
roll
that
it?
they probably start with leggings because that seems to be always their first thing, and then from there they'll go out more. That would just be my guess.
I never understood the fascination with leggings, like why it became such a fad.
They're comfy.
I guess so.
I mean, I don't wear them out in public, but they're super comfy. They also make cool dresses too. Like, I don't know if
Dresses?
you guys have seen any of them. Hold on.
No, no, the leggings don't make cool dresses. The company also makes cool dresses.
Yeah, I was very confused.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I saw the dresses. Yeah.
Yeah, here's.
Yeah, no, they've done a lot of nice looking
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, they do. It's all really high quality stuff and awesome.
Do they have pockets though?
I don't think so. I don't think any of the dresses have pockets. I would remember.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was just a quick update on that they were showing off those three leggings. I wanted to say skins.
Well, kind of.
Yeah, they're that tight. It looks like so. But yeah, so just a little update on that. But last up we have the gem store. And first up, new we have is the Inquest Overseer Chair Glider combo for 900 gems. So this is, like we said, a glider and also, a chair like we've seen through the gem store or also from some of the raids. You can get the, novelty chair type thing. But this one actually, the chair actually moves. I don't think any other of the purchasable or in the raid chairs move. It doesn't move fast. It's kind of like a little crawl, slow pace, but which is kind of interesting because it's like it's a floating mechanical chair type thing, which
right,
is cool and all, and it moves. But weirdly, I've heard people say because you can get the combo for 900 gems. Or you can get them separately if you so desire. The chair is 600 gems or the glider is 500 gems a piece. So it is a deal if you get it together. But apparently if you're in the chair and like jump off a cliff or, jump off to use the glider, it doesn't switch over. Like you would have to dismount the chair and then switch to it, like then glide to the glider. Like it doesn't instantly.
Yeah, that makes sense because you're like in a toy type of deal.
Yeah, but still, like mechanically, that's weird.
Yeah, it visually looks weird where you're just like, let me hop out of my chair to get in my chair. Like,
yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of like Chad's saying, sort of like the fishing turtle and WoW, except that if you go into water, I don't think it makes you faster. But yeah, it basically brings you to a crawl on land. But yeah, would any of you be picking that up? Would it fit on any of your characters?
Chair. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that one.
Yeah, I couldn't see myself personally using it, but I mean, if anybody out there has used or is using it, let us know. I mean, it does look cool because it has like those two little like front like control panel disc things. It's definitely nice if you don't have one and you want one, or if you're a CERN, it definitely would work out there. I mean, but yeah, it's definitely, like I said, I think also the deal breaker for me would be that weird transition from chair to glider. Like you don't really.
Yeah, it's so weird. It looked different. I'm like, but why?
Yeah, and like we were saying, you can move on it, but like I said, it's just that weird thing of you just it's a weird transition. And once again, the glider, the chair, you can't die.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that weird, if you switch the glider skin or the glider, you dye the glider, it's like, for some reason, when it switches into flight mode, it turns blue. Like,
Magic.
well, maybe if there's another wing, maybe the next wing chair will move. Maybe it'll literally be a winged chair. Oh, or there'll be a meta achievement for all. If you get all the raid wing chairs, you literally get a winged chair. There you go. Arena, you're welcome. Yeah, you can pick that up, like I said, for 900 gems or 600 gems just for the chair and 500 gems just for the glider. Oh, it's sad but true. Also a bunch of returning stuff they're doing like a little gem store event thing of Halloween in July. So Hallow's Fortune fireworks for 200 gems. First one you can actually pick up for free in the gem store. But they also have the Halloween appearance package for 1,700 gems, which is 15% off, which includes the Haunted Armor outfit, the Arachnid glider, the Onyx and Golden Lion weapon choice, a Total Makeover kit, and the Elonian Beast die kit. Also, if you just want the armor outfit or the glider, you can pick that up for 560 gems for the outfit and 320 gems for the glider. But that's one bundle thing you can get. The Spooky Mounts pack, which is 1,200 gems, which is 40% off, which do note that will not include the Roller Beetle or the Sky Scale. That just includes the original 5 standard mounts that were brought with POF.
Yeah, they don't have a spooky one of either of those separately yet. So
no, they do not.
Maybe this year around Halloween they'll get added in.
Maybe would be a good time to put them. Or if they would have did like a teaser, because didn't they do that with like one of the Halloween wings or something? They were like,
oh yeah, I think so.
You get them for this week, but they'll return later or something. So they could have. Yeah. Also the Ferocious Cat Ears for 300 gems, which is a helmet piece, so you can apply it to your armor.
They're awesome.
The Devil Horns for 150 gems, and once again is a helmet piece, so it will unlock all weight classes. But yeah, you can add it to your armor in place of your helmet. Also leaving soon is the Faux Fire Mantle, Wraps, and Greaves, 370 gems each, which are 25% off, which definitely like those. Give a recommendation for those. But Bat Wings Glider Combo for 560 gems. And also on sale, I think for this weekend, is the Shared Inventory Slots, 25% off, which is 1 for 525 gems, 3 for 1,417 gems, and 5 for 2,100 gems. So, any of those things that you would recommend people picking up?
Cat hairs.
Shared inventory slots if you need them.
Right, yeah, those are always good to get. Like, max those out. Because, you might think to yourself that there's nothing I would use shared inventory slots, but you find a way.
Until you have them.
And then you're like, oh, I need this and this. Oh, it would be nice if I had another one for this.
Yeah, because I think I saw people replying in the tweet when they tweeted it out was like, I can't buy anymore.
Right.
Not saying I don't need any more. They're like, if you made the ability where I could buy more, I would buy more.
Right.
So,
which is hilarious because I remember when they first released it, there was a lot of people angry about it.
Well, and I would say that is important to know just in case you are new to the game or never heard of these. I don't want people to get mixed up these aren't like the inventory, like the bag slots in the side of your inventory.
Right.
These are literally one block each in your inventory itself.
Yeah, and it's a top, and it's like all of your characters have access to that one block. Or 10 blocks if you have all of them.
I just remember people being mad when they first came out. They're like, it's not the bag slot where I could just put a 20 slot bag in there. Right. And it's just...
Nope.
So, unfortunately not, but, people have still found a use. And in the end, if you're sitting on a stockpile of gold or something, you can always convert into gems and get a free slot. It's but yeah. But yeah, for me, like I said, I'd recommend the faux fire skins. I kind of like them. If you like the maybe if you're going for like maybe like a paladin, like a WoW paladin, or even I think a paladin in Diablo 3 has a skin where it has like candles on it, kind of has that, or the wraps for it are kind of nice for just like, because it's just like bounded runed wrappings around your hands. Pretty cool looking. But yeah. Any other suggestion for the gem store?
Nope.
Seems good.
All right. That looks like that is it for this week. So, Age, where can they find you?
Twitch and YouTube, Age Night Road. I probably won't be streaming. I'm probably gonna be looking into site upgrades for our site.
Woo!
What site would that be?
MAADrealms.com.
Now, is that 2 A's in the MAAD?
No, Dad, just one. No,
Wait,
I'm
what?
joking.
Poor Dale.
Yeah, 2 A's in the MAAD. I'm looking into upgrading the layout a little bit, make it like more modern and stuff like that, in addition to giving you guys RSS feeds to our podcast if you so desire, and things like that. So I'm trying to look into that as well as upgrades. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Robin, where can they find you?
At Arlie82 on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. And yeah, that's about it. Yay.
Awesome, man. You can see, if you follow her on Twitter, she'll probably tweet out. She usually streams her WoW raids and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I try to start streaming more on other days too and get some other games going, but I'm stuck doing dailies in WoW for a while, and I feel like nobody really wants me to watch about dailies because it's usually just me bitching about how much I hate dailies. So,
well, I was gonna say, and if you want to hear her talk about how much she hates the WoW dailies, definitely tune into pre-show or after show because she is definitely not a fan of them.
right.
But yeah, awesome. And you can find me at simply_Deo on Twitch and Twitter. And now that we've gotten Via the Void, our Warframe podcast, up and running, I should hopefully be able to stream a couple more things. But hey, if you're like, hey, a Warframe podcast, what the? We're doing that bi-weekly, but it's up on the website, MAAD Realms, 2 A's in the MAAD. You can check it out there. Like I said, we did it this past Tuesday on Twitch, right? Twitch.tv/MAAD Realms. That starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Then we kind of put it up on our website for a day on the Wednesdays, and then Thursday it opens up on YouTube. So that's kind of the process going forward with that. Don't worry, we're not going to do that with Talking Skritt. We kind of decided to grandfather that in, so it's always going to be the same schedule here, which if you're just finding that out, we put it up on, if you're watching here, we highlight it on Twitch. Once again, MAAD Realms. It will go up on the website Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, and also on go up on YouTube at the same time at Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. And if you want to make it out to the live show where we talk, pre and post show about more Guild Wars 2 stuff or just gaming in general, just go to twitch.tv/MAAD Realms, and that we kind of start at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Show up a little bit early for a pre-show and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that is it for this week, and we'll see everybody next time in the game. Good night, everybody.